Welcome to Lioness Lifestyle Live.
So my name is Lindsay.
And my name is Christy.
And my name is Ellie. And we are all eating a meat-based nutritious diet.
We will have discussions concerning women's health and their unique perspectives on keto and carnivore diets.
To discuss topics such as motherhood, aging, weight loss, pregnancy, mental health, and much more.
We hope you join us to Chew the Fat on Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern. See you then, Lionesses.
And we are live. Welcome, everyone, to Lioness Lifestyle Live.
Yes, we're so excited to meet with you and our awesome guest this evening.
If you want to get your questions ready for our awesome guest, if you have a question, please put a question mark in front of your question or put a bunch of Q's so we can find you and put you on the screen.
So for this stream, we decided that we wanted to do the two different channels that are up above. There is Ellie from, sorry, I might be pointing to the wrong side. Ellie from Nourishment Reducted and Christy from Meeting Wellness. And they are both awesome channels and we want them to get monetized so good, so fast, and it's going to be so good. So we wanted to do the stream on both their channels just because it made sense with the content and everything. So we're going to be streaming on both channels. You can tune into both or either one and hang out in the chat, and we will hang out with you there. And we're just not going to stream on my channel anymore, just on the two channels up above. And I keep like pointing to the wrong thing, but it's mirrored weird. But yeah, so we just want them to be able to get monetized so that they can make even better content for you guys, and make sure you're subscribed so that we can keep them going. We love them.
Thank you, Lindsay.
Okay, well, I'm going to show you guys this week's Roar of the Week. So every single week after the live stream is done, the replays will be available on all three channels. And you can go to any one of our channels and comment, and then I will comb through those comments and I will choose one to be our Roar of the Week. So this week's Roar of the Week is, I'm not on the right page, it is right here. So it was Live Action Pixel. I think that was in reference to my cat who ran across during the stream. Anyways, but it's from At Overcoming Carbs. I feel like eating this way gives me control I never had before. I now have a freedom in eating. I never knew freedom like I know since going zero carb. Being bound by the shackles of addiction is no freedom at all. So thank you so much, Overcoming Carbs. That really echoes a lot of, how I feel about this way of eating as well. So that was our Roar of the Week.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yay.
Well, I am so happy to bring in Sophia from Sophia Eats Steak.
Yay, Sophia! We're so excited to have you here.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me here. I'm super excited to be here tonight.
Thank you. We would love for you to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your journey with meat-based eating.
All right. So I'm Sophia. I am 16 years old, and I have been eating a carnivore diet for the past about, I think, almost 5 months. 4 or 5 months at this point. I started at the end of June of this year, so that's almost, I think that's 5 months. So I think that's going on 6 months now, actually. But so I've been eating carnivore for 6 months, 5 months since the end of June. And the reason that I decided to go carnivore is because I have been dealing with an eating disorder for the past about 2 years now. I was diagnosed for 2 years ago, but I've been dealing with it for longer than that. So I was diagnosed with anorexia nervosa in October of 2021. I'd been losing a lot of weight. I had been becoming very obsessive about the foods that I was eating, and I was starting to over-exercise and just restricting my calories as much as I could get away with without my parents calling me out on it. And so because of that, I lost a lot of weight, and it was not healthy weight loss. It was very unhealthy weight loss. So I got super duper skinny. And so in December of 2021, I ended up in the hospital, and I actually ended up having to spend my Christmas that year in the hospital, which was not a pleasant experience, to say the least. And about a month after that, after I got out of the hospital, I was discharged. I was sent to a standard eating disorder treatment center, and I stayed there in inpatient care for about 2.5 months. And while I was there, I was refed on the standard American diet. So I was refed lots of very processed carbs, lots of added sugar foods, seed oils, just really, really highly processed foods that just aren't really good for you. And the main goal of those eating disorder treatment centers is to, while they do like work on mental health, I'd say their main focus is building up your physical health again. So really, they just try to get you to gain the weight back as fast as possible. So that's why they're giving you all those processed foods. So I gained about 30 pounds in those 2.5 months. And the thing is, you gain all the weight. You gain all the weight physically. They heal your body physically, but it doesn't do anything for your mental state. So you've gained all the weight back, but your mind is still very sick. So as soon as I was discharged from the eating disorder treatment center, I immediately started restricting again. I started losing weight and started over exercising. And by I think after 3 months of being outside of the treatment center, I was below the weight that I had been when I had first gone into the hospital for the first time. And so I ended up being hospitalized again for malnutrition. And this time I was about to be sent back to the eating disorder treatment center, but I made a compromise with my mom, with the doctors, with my therapist, and I said, okay, I'm going to follow this meal plan that the hospital's giving me, and I promise I'm going to follow it, and I'm going to do weight restoration at home. And that went okay for a few months. So from about July of last year, I was on a meal plan, and I was being served by my mom, being plated all my meals. And so like I said, that went okay for a few months. But then around the start of this year, so January 2023, my mom was starting to let me have more control in what I was eating again, because she was starting to trust me, which was her mistake, because the eating disorder was still very, very rampant in my mind. So I started to restrict again, although it was a little more gradual this time. So I started to restrict, and I slowly started to bump up my activity level again. And so by the end of the school year, I was losing a lot of weight again. And so it was around, so the end of the school year, so like the end of May, I was at the lowest weight that I've been in my teenage life. So I had a BMI of about, I think, 13, which is pretty low. It's not as low as some people with anorexia get, but it was the lowest that I'd ever gotten. I was like, man, if I had a picture on this computer, I would probably bring it up, but I was skin and bones. Like my arms, they were sticks. My ribs, they were just sticking out, and you could see my hip bones. I was a skeleton, basically, like skin stretched over a skeleton. And my doctor, he'd been becoming increasingly more concerned. And so I was about to be hospitalized again for the third time. But I knew that if that happened, I probably would end up back in the eating disorder treatment center, which was something that I did not want to happen, because I just had such a negative experience with it before. And so I was kind of at the end of my rope at this point. I was feeling kind of hopeless. I didn't know what to do. The eating disorder was just so strong in my mind. It felt like I had zero control over the decisions that I was making about food. It just felt like I had to restrict. I had to exercise. And a few months prior, in March of this year, my mom had actually gone carnivore. So my mom's a CrossFit coach, and so one of the coaches that she works with at the gym is a carnivore herself. And she had introduced the carnivore diet to my mom about last year, and she had introduced it to my mom in the context of healing eating disorders, because I don't know if any of you have heard of Michelle Hearn, but she's a registered dietitian, or she was a registered dietitian. I don't know if she still has her license, but she had an eating disorder herself when she was young, and she was told that she was going to die from it, but she still survived. But she eventually discovered the benefits of going low carb and carnivore, and she went carnivore to heal her anorexia. And so she's a big advocate. And so my mom's friend was telling her about this, and so my mom was intrigued by this, obviously, because she was very, very concerned about me. And so that led her to learning about like Michaela Peterson and Jordan Peterson, and how they're on the Lion diet and how that's helped with her autoimmune disease. And she just kind of went down a whole rabbit hole. She, the typical rabbit hole that you hear people go down when they first hear about carnivore. So she ended up listening to like Dr. Berry videos and Dr. Chafee videos. And my mom, she was at a point in her life where her health was kind of degrading as well. So she had learned about all these benefits from the carnivore diet, how it can help with insulin resistance, how it can help with weight loss. And so she decided to try it herself in March of this year. And she tells me that she also kind of tried it in hopes of kind of leading by example so that I could see what benefits it did for her. So she was carnivore for about 3 months. And like I said, I was about to be hospitalized again. I was at rock bottom, basically. And so I was feeling very, very desperate. I knew I had to make a change. Otherwise, things were just stuff was gonna hit the fan, So, yeah. So my mom, that weekend, she actually showed me a Dr. Berry live stream that had just aired. And it was one where he was interviewing these doctors who had worked on a case study about 3 different patients who had suffered from anorexia for years. They've been dealing with the condition for so long, and it was like resistant to all treatments. They'd been to the eating disorder treatment centers. They'd gone through the standard care, and it just hadn't worked for them. But they had chosen to adopt a animal-based ketogenic lifestyle, or a carnivore diet, and they had healed their bodies. They'd healed their minds from the diet. And so I listened to this video and I read the case study, and for the first time in months, I just felt hope. I felt hope for recovery, because I don't know the exact statistic on this, but most people, I'm pretty sure it's most people, but most people with anorexia who go through standard treatment end up relapsing. And it's sad, because eating disorders are often like lifelong afflictions that people suffer with. They're very, very hard to recover from. So I felt a lot of hope for the first time in a long time, because I had kind of convinced myself that this was something that I was just going to end up dealing with for the rest of my life, and I was never going to be able to get away from it. So that night, as I was lying in bed, I couldn't get to sleep, because I had decided I'm going to try this. This could be it. This could be what frees me. So that next morning, I told my mom, okay, I think I want to at least do keto. And so she said, okay, I'll support you in that. anything, because she was just desperate at that point for me to start eating more. And luckily enough, that week I had an appointment with my doctor, so I told him about it. I told him my plan, and he was a little skeptical. I mean, how doctors are. They are advocates for, like low fat, low everything, standard nutrition advice. But I think at that point he was just relieved that I was going to start eating more, adding in butter and bacon and higher calorie foods. That's I think that's the most he could ask for at that point. So yeah, so I went carnivore on June 21st. That was my first day. And from there, I've been gaining healthy weight. I've gained fat and I've gained muscle because my body fat percentage was dangerously low. But I've gained a good amount of healthy weight so far. And so far, yeah. And I've also experienced a lot of other amazing benefits from it as well, not just on the physical side. My mental clarity has improved so much, and I feel like it's really helped to quiet the voice of the eating disorder, or at least help me ignore it more. And I feel like it's just helped me become a lot more emotionally stable. And there's a lot I could talk about that has to do with benefits and things, but I guess that's kind of the gist of it. But if there's anything else you'd like me to kind of go more into specific about,
well, I had a question. How did like your family respond? Like not your mom, because obviously your mom was in on it, but how did like the rest of your family and your friends respond to you doing a carnivore diet? Because I know that it's not the most normal thing. So
right. So at that point, I think everyone in my family was pretty used to my mom being carnivore. So they didn't really think it was super weird when I decided to go carnivore.
Right.
So since I've been dealing with this eating disorder for like the past, it's pretty much been like the main focus of my life for like the past like 2.5 years. And since I've been in kind of bad places at times, I feel like my social life has kind of gone down the drain because of it. So I don't really have that many friends that I talk to be honest. But I do have like acquaintances at school who know that I'm carnivore. But when I tell people about it at school, they're not as weirded out about it as I thought they'd be. They're pretty chill with it, if I'm being honest.
That's good. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow.
So nobody's ever like ridiculing about it. They're always pretty accepting about it. So they're just like, huh, and then they move on. So
well, that's awesome. I'm glad that no one's like, they're probably just like, that's weird, and then they just like move on. They're like,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
You only eat meat. All right, that's interesting.
Well, that's the other thing too. I feel like when I say I only eat meat, they don't get that I only eat meat. Like I think what they think is, oh, she eats a lot of meat. But no, and so they'll ask me like, wait, so you don't have like any bread, you don't have any vegetables, you don't have any fruit? And I'm like, no, when I say I eat meat, I mean I only eat meat. And they're like,
literally
what?
Exclusively just the
Right.
meat. Yeah.
Right.
I did see that you were maybe going to change up your diet in a recent video, and I'm ketovore. I'm more ketovore, and I did carnivore for a while. I couldn't do it. Like I just couldn't stick with it because it just didn't work with my lifestyle. So what are you gonna do when you start eating other things, introducing new foods?
Right.
Which ones are you hoping you like, and which ones are you hoping you can tolerate?
Okay, so this is something that I'm actually really excited to talk about. So I made that video about 3 weeks ago now, and funny thing with the eating disorder is that I get really comfortable doing the things that I'm used to, And so changing things up, especially when it comes to my diet, is really, really scary for me. And so even though I'm still eating like enough food, it's been hard to kind of convince myself to move away from the carnivore diet. And so I hadn't really been doing that like I said I was going to, but I have been adding in more dairy like I said I would. And so I've been eating like yogurt a lot, and I've been doing really, really well with that. But the plan moving forward
is it just plain yogurt?
Yeah, just plain
yogurt.
Greek. Yeah,
Okay.
so I actually have a video on my YouTube channel with my mom,
I have to watch it.
and we make our own yogurt at home from raw milk that we get,
cool.
and it's delicious. It's like my favorite thing. So we make our own yogurt, and I love it. So I've been adding in more yogurt, and I think I've been tolerating that pretty well. Other things that I'm looking to add in are more nuts, more fruits, more low carb vegetables, but well, maybe not necessarily low carb, but fermented vegetables, because that's something that Dr. Sean O'Mara recommends, is meat-based and fermented vegetables. So my mom, she's been making fermented vegetables for a few months now, and she eats those more than I do, but I'm looking to add those in more. I actually had some sauerkraut with my burger patties that I ate for dinner last night. But so yeah, fruits, nuts, and low carb vegetables. So more ketovore, because just because I'll get into that later.
No, you're good.
But what was I going to say? Okay, the idea for the fruits is to eat fruits that are in season and hopefully get them locally, because okay, this is kind of like spawning a whole like root system, or like I don't know, like all the thoughts are branching off in my mind. I don't know which one to talk about. But
tangents going all over the place.
Yeah. So but my idea, my belief is that humans, when we were hunter-gatherers, we would eat mainly meat, but I think the women especially, they would gather while the men were out, hunting. But the women, they would gather fruits, they would gather nuts, they would gather vegetables, they would gather whatever they could find that was edible. But the things that they would be able to find would have been stuff that was in season and local. So that's kind of the idea behind that. So making sure that the fruit that I'm eating is like whole and not like super like from across the world, And then every now and then, well, not every now and then, but so I don't know how to explain this.
No worries.
Oh, I'm trying to find the right words. Sorry.
No, you're fine.
Do you want to come back to it?
Sure, we can.
So I was really curious about, what do you think it was about carnivore that really helped your eating disorder? Like, what do you think it was specifically about that helps?
Well, one thing that's just kind of general and that doesn't even have to do with carnivore necessarily is getting enough calories, because your brain can't function on like 500 calories a day, which is what I was trying to eat, which is insane. Now that I think about it, and so definitely getting enough food, that is one thing that helps. The problem with that is that when you're kind of in that eating disorder mentality, it's really hard to convince yourself to eat that much, because then you convince yourself, oh, if I eat more than that, I'm going to gain weight or I'm going to get fat. But I do think the high fat helps a lot, because that's another thing going along with the brain. A lot of your brain is fat. And so it functions on fat, it runs on fat. So fat can be very, very helpful for your brain. And so I think the fat really helps your brain heal. Another thing is the wholeness of the food, I guess. I don't know how whole the food I'm eating is, because I'm eating meat, and there's no sugar, no seed oils, it's not highly processed. And so I think eating a whole food diet really does help with your mental clarity as well as your physical health. So
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. There was a question. Sorry, let me see if I can.
Nicole's.
Yeah, is that from former fat girl?
Yep,
Who
there
wasn't
it
on
is.
that live? Okay,
Hey,
so what do you think could make eating disorder treatment centers better? Because she knows someone that has gone through it as well without success.
well, that's a really, really hard question, and I don't know if it's one that I feel like I'd really be qualified to answer. For me personally, my experience at the Eating Disorder Treatment Center was it was not very good. I mean, there were a lot of very, very kind people there, both patients and staff. I just feel like the mentality behind it is weight restore and get them out of there, because a lot of times people's insurance won't really cover it past that, because they just want to see the physical improvements. And so a lot of times what would happen is that the patients would be admitted, and then they'd be treated for as long as it takes for them to get their weight back up to a healthy level, and then their insurance would cut, and then they'd pretty much be kicked out. Well, not kicked out, but then they'd be discharged after that.
Yeah.
So, and that's not to say that they only focus on the physical aspect, because they did have personal therapists that you would see, and they did have groups that you would go to. I don't know. It is effective for some people, but I can't say the majority. I don't know. I don't know the facts on it, but a lot of the people who discharge, they do end up relapsing, and then they do end up back in the centers, which is it's such a shame. I knew a lot of girls there who had been there multiple times in their lives, and they were all like teenagers. They were all so young. So I don't know if there's really much that you can do to make them better, actually, because I mean, they do have the inpatient, but after you're discharged from that, they do like to keep you on a partial hospitalization program where you do still come and you attend like daily, and you still attend groups, but you're just not living there full time. So they try to gently put you back on your feet. They try to gently help you out into the real world. I think the main problem with eating disorder recovery is that the only one who can recover from an eating disorder is you. Nobody else can decide that for you. Mm-hmm. So if you don't have that decision made in your mind, I want to get better from this, I don't want this eating disorder anymore, then you're not going to get better. You can force someone into the hospital, into an eating disorder treatment center. You can force carbs down their throat and make them gain weight as much as you want. But it's never, ever going to work unless that person actually decides this is something that I don't want anymore in my life. And that was something that I feel like it took me a while for me to get there myself. For a long time, I didn't want to recover. I didn't want to get rid of the eating disorder. I was convinced that it was something that made me special, or it was something that was benefiting me. It was only when I kind of hit rock bottom, when I kind of realized that it's no good and I do not want this thing in my life anymore. So.
Absolutely. Wow. I think that's with a lot of things. Like you have to really just decide. And I'm so proud of you for doing that. You're just so strong and so brave. But Christy was about to say something and I cut her off. So sorry.
No, you're fine. I didn't let you finish. A lot of things that you're saying, it's like taking me right back to when I was like 15, 16 years old, because if anyone knows my story, that's how old I was when I started kind of starving myself and not, and going through that yo-yo dieting. So I can't say that I was diagnosed with an eating disorder, but I definitely had disordered eating. And I think you're the first person that I've spoken to that's actually been diagnosed. And so it's very interesting to me to hear the parallels between the words coming out of your mouth and the thoughts that I definitely experienced.
Yeah, and I think that's the super sad thing is that a lot of people actually, a lot more people than are diagnosed with eating disorders probably do have eating disorders, or at least some form of disordered eating, especially in young women. And it's becoming a lot worse. Like I think there's just a lot of societal pressure, and there's a lot of other factors that go into it. I definitely don't think that the food that many people are eating, like the ultra processed foods, I definitely don't think those are helping. I think those are definitely contributing to the mental health issues.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Can I ask you, what does a day of eating look like for you now? Like you said, you've been adding, so like some yogurt and some fermented foods, but like typically, like how many meals do you eat? What's your favorite thing to eat?
Okay, so how many meals I eat in a day depends on how hungry I am. So sometimes I wake up and I'm hungry for breakfast, so I will eat breakfast, and breakfast will usually be eggs cooked in butter or bacon fat. I like them scrambled. I've always liked them scrambled. And so I go to school as well, so I'll pack a lunch with me. I always eat lunch and I always eat dinner. Well, I eat lunch almost every day except for days when I'm fasting. And then so I pack a lunch with me to bring to school. And so usually that's hard-boiled eggs and cooked bacon that I take with me in my lunchbox. And I have a little mini Redmond salt shaker that I take to school with me.
That's so cute.
And I sprinkle my salt on there and I eat my eggs. And then I'll have dinner in the evenings, and typically dinner will be like a cut of meat or like ground beef bowls. And both of my parents are pretty much entirely carnivore, so I'll usually eat with them. And my favorite thing to eat for dinner though is steak. That's why my username is Sophia Eats Steak. That's my absolute favorite thing.
Yep.
And
Absolutely.
I love steak. Ribeye is my favorite. I love putting butter on it. My mom and we've made homemade butter, and putting that on steak has been amazing. And so yeah, I love steak. And sometimes I'll do chicken. So I'll put like chicken thighs or chicken drumsticks in the air fryer, or sometimes, so yeah, it's usually either steak, pork chops, chicken, ground beef, or burger patties. And then sometimes if I am hungry right before I go to bed, then I'll grab a snack, and sometimes that'll be like a snack sausage, or it'll be yogurt. So
I think
Yum,
it's so
delicious.
we're all moms, and so we all have kids, right? And we always want them to grow up to gain these skills. And I notice in your channel that you cook a lot with your parents and by yourself. And so I don't know about you, but I don't see many teenagers reverse searing tomahawk steaks. So I wanted to know, did you always love cooking, or was it like introducing carnivore and like your newfound like feeling good with your body and your mind and like everything healing? Is that where the love came from? I would love to know.
yeah, so I've always loved cooking. I've always been a baker, so I used to I still love to bake. I bake all the time still, but I just don't eat it. But I've always loved baking. I've always loved cooking. And so yeah, except I never ever cooked a steak before going carnivore. So this has been kind of a fun little past few months, learning how to cook steaks on like a cast iron grill, also on the grill outside. But and I used to I was not very good when I first started. I would turn the heat up too high and I'd like singe the outside and then it'd be like cold in the middle still.
I think everyone's been there.
Yep.
Yeah, but I've gotten a lot better at cooking my own steaks. Now I cook my own steaks all the time. But in the beginning, I was always asking my parents to help me cook my steaks. But yeah, I've always loved cooking.
Susan is giving us some advice to try wrapping bacon around the chicken thighs because it's delicious. Yeah, that sounds delicious,
Yep.
Susan. It sounds like something I would definitely do.
I've had bacon wrapped chicken before. It is amazing.
Oh,
it's
definitely.
delicious.
I almost
Yeah.
made that for dinner, but then I ran out of time, so I pulled some out of the freezer.
Well, hey, should we say hi to some of our wonderful people in the chat?
Absolutely. Let's pull up some of those comments.
All right. So the Baroness of Beef was here. I think she said she was running back to work, but she's wishing us luck. I'm sure she'll catch us on the replay. She's in Australia, so she's like in a whole other.
Oh wow.
Hi.
Hey, Baroness
So
of Beef.
glad you're here.
Then we had Miss Rhonda herself, Carnivore Leo, one of the Lions. They aired their first episode last night, so shout out to the Lions on Mondays.
That was such a good
Fabulous. Miss Becky, the Keto Oregonian, says, good evening, Lionesses. So hello, Becky.
Amazing.
And this is Carrie at My Metamorphosis saying, hey.
Hi.
Nice to
She was
see
our
you.
first guest ever.
She was our first guest ever. We love her. And then this is Becky again. She's roaring because, you know, lions. So thanks for the roar. Miss Dharma Dream says, yay, Sophia. And then, this is
That's
cool.
what we said when you booked with us. We're like, yay! We're so
We got so
excited.
excited.
Yes, if you
Waiting
could have
for it.
seen us, so if you could have been a fly on that wall, Sophia, we were celebrating.
Well, she would have needed to be on 3 different walls, but
Three
yeah.
different walls at the same time. Carnivore gives us a lot of things, but I don't think that's one of the things.
Yeah.
One of the superpowers
Yeah.
from Carnivore.
Darn it.
Scott Ryan says, this way of eating is so freeing. No more being controlled by hunger. I'm 6 weeks in and can happily fast for 20 hours. I could never do that eating carbs. I'm right there with you, Scott Ryan. And just trying to see if we have any. Oh, yeah, here's Mike. So hi, Mike. Mike says, hi, family.
Hi, Mike.
And Susan says that you're so brave.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yep.
and then there's one more hello here from Lady Fritz Aders, specifically to Sophia. So hello, Sophia. And then I'm just going to go back because we did have a question from Keto Oregonian. So have you ever had a former co-patient or person in real life you know with an eating disorder ask you about carnivore?
No. So I don't really keep in contact with any of the girls who were. So pretty much everyone I know who has an eating disorder was a patient that I met at the treatment center. I don't really keep in contact with them. I mean, I've had a couple of people ask me about carnivore before. I don't know if they have eating disorders. I couldn't say, honestly. But no, I've never really had too many people ask too much about it. Because I find that if you really just mind your own business, you're not like spouting all the time to the rest of the world, oh, hey, I'm a carnivore, then people don't really mind all that much. So people I interact with don't really ask me about it. So
That's nice.
I think it's easier that way sometimes.
yeah.
It's not. I mean, that shirt that Carrie from Homestead How made, that's like, I only meat, ask me why. I don't know if
Yeah.
I could wear that shirt even if I was fully carnivore. I don't know. That would be
Yeah, the introvert in me would
Opening.
just be like, no, thank you.
opening way too many doors that I don't know if I want to
Introverted.
open.
Okay.
But yeah, I think that's awesome.
So this is a great question. One of you other ladies came up with this question. It's a good one. It says, do you feel like you perform better at school because you're eating a high-fat diet? I know you said earlier before the show you're taking like physics, which is amazing.
AP physics.
physics, AP physics, I might add. Yes.
That's kind of hard to say because, I mean, not to brag, but I've always been a straight A student. And that's been consistent so far this year. But I mean, I think it's definitely helped with the mental clarity. I mean, I can tell on the mornings where, like, if I don't have time to eat breakfast, but I'm still hungry, I do have a little bit of that brain fog, and so I can't really function as well as opposed to the mornings where I do eat a good breakfast. That's like bacon and eggs. So, I mean, and I know if I was still dealing with the eating disorder, I definitely probably would not be doing as well. I definitely wouldn't be able to be doing as much as I am right now because I do have a lot of other things that I do outside of school, and I just wouldn't be able to handle that without having the strength that I have from carnivore. So,
Are you doing
Absolutely.
extracurricular activities?
I mean, yes, extracurricular activities, but not like related to my school, I guess. I mean, I go to the gym a lot with my mom because, like I said, she's a CrossFit coach. So I do CrossFit with her. I do that 3 times a week. So I'm in the gym 3 times a week. And then when I'm not in the gym, I do accessory work to try to build up my gymnastic skills for CrossFit. Because one of my ambitions, like my dream job, is actually to be like a CrossFit athlete when I'm older. And so I really want to be able to get like my gymnastics abilities down because CrossFit is like it's a cross of a lot of different fitnesses. So
What?
there's weightlifting, yeah, there's weightlifting, there's a lot of cardio, there's a lot of gymnastics work. So I really want to get my gymnastics work down. So that involves doing like pull-ups, toes to bar, which is like one weird movement where you're hanging from the bar and you bring your toes to the bar. So that involves a lot of lat engagement and ab strength. And so that's something that I've been working on right now. So I'm really working hard to try to improve in the gym a lot. So.
And you said you are starting to put on muscle. Is that just from visual inspection, or do you have like a scale that measures that, or?
It's from both visual and like scale. So at the gym, they have something called an in-body scan, and that's basically like a weight measurement, but a little bit more in depth. It's not like 100% accurate all the time. It's accurate to itself. So I took an in-body scan from the beginning when I first went carnivore, and then I took one a few weeks ago, and I have it right here. No, I don't. Never mind. But I have gained quite a bit of muscle since going carnivore. But there's also the visual side. Like I said earlier, my arms, and they were sticks right before I went carnivore. And my legs, they were sticks as well, and my abdomen was it was bony, it was ribby, like you could see my ribs. But now my arms, they've got a good amount of meat on them, and a lot of that meat is muscle. And so it's been a positive improvement to see. It's something that I'm really proud of. I'm really proud of seeing the gains that I've made. So
they're awesome.
And we're proud of you.
You look amazing. So, and it looks like you feel so much better. Your hair is so much healthier. Your skin looks awesome.
Yeah, that's one thing. Like when you're malnourished, your hair starts to get super thin and it can fall out. So since going carnivore, my hair has started to grow back in the places where it
baby hairs. So
yeah,
cute.
so I've got all these baby hairs now, and they're super annoying because they like fly everywhere and they make my hair look so
girl.
Look at that.
They're all curly right now, but I have a whole bunch. They're hiding, but they're all in there.
Yeah. So
that's awesome though.
So I was gonna ask though, after you were at your lowest weight and at the worst you found carnivore, and how soon after carnivore did you start seeing those improvements? How quickly?
So the first improvement that I saw was actually within a day of going carnivore.
Wow.
So I've had eczema all my life. It's kind of like an autoimmune condition on your skin.
Have it on my hands. It's
Yeah,
great fun.
so it's basically your skin is like super dry all the time. So I saw a dermatologist about it like a year ago, and the way he described it is it's like asthma on your skin.
Oh, that's a good way to describe it.
Wow.
Yeah, so
It's awful.
yeah, so you get dry patches, and for me it was like it was never consistently in one place on my body, but it would be like in one place for like months at a time. So one year it was like on my legs for like months and months and months, and I just had like scabs and itchy and dry all over my legs for the longest time. And then it was on my back, and then it was on my arms. It was like in the crooks of my arms.
Ouch.
But it had been on my hands pretty bad for a while. So my hands were always dry, and having super dry hands is like, it's awful. Like,
Were
your
they
hands,
like cracked, and would they
yes,
bleed?
they would,
and,
like,
yeah.
yeah. So like the
And lotions make it hurt even worse.
yeah. So the folds, they would crack, and so bending my fingers was like agony. So within
Man, I'm
the
so
first
sorry.
like day of going carnivore, my skin was already feeling much softer, and a couple days after that, my hands were like it was like they had never had eczema. It was such a relief. And I started gaining weight not long after that, which was a bit of a relief and also kind of alarming to me at the same time, just because of the eating disorder brain. But yeah, so the weight gain that started happening actually right as I went carnivore. I lost a little bit more weight right before I started gaining, and I think part of the reason for that was because I had a little bit of inflammation in my body, because before I was already eating pretty like whole foods. I was eating like mostly like chicken breast and fruits and vegetables. So not a lot of highly processed foods, just because of the eating disorder. But I do think because of those foods, I still had a little bit of inflammation.
Right.
So right before I started gaining the weight, I actually lost like another pound, even though I was still eating a lot. But then the weight started going up after that. But yeah, it did not take long to start seeing improvements.
So I have
Okay.
a question.
That's awesome.
What kind of message would you like to present to those who might be suffering with an eating disorder? Maybe feel lost or don't really know what to do.
So like I said earlier, the only one who can choose
Help you.
for you to recover, to recover from an eating disorder is you. You have to be the one to make that decision. You have to be the one to flip the switch. So, and it's unfortunate, but I really do think a lot of times it really takes you to get, you really do have to hit rock bottom in order for you to reach that decision. But making that decision was still very hard, even though I was at the end of my rope. But one piece of advice that I would offer is, I mean, just take a chance. I mean, if you're desperate and you're at the end of your rope, then trying it out for a week, 2 weeks, a month, 90 days it's gonna be for your benefit.
It's a blip on your life too. Like, it's just like this small little section. Just try it. I mean, what's it really gonna hurt?
I mean,
if you try it.
Yeah, if you try it, chances are you're gonna feel a lot better. And I mean, you can always go back to the way you were before. You can always go back to the restricting. You can always go back to the overexercising, to the binging, to the purging, to the guilt. But I think if you just try it, you'll find that you like it a lot better than the way you were. and you won't want to go back. So just taking a chance, being brave enough to take that leap of faith, I think it's so worth it, I think. So
Absolutely. And you're just
Well-
awesome. And you're sharing your story with so many people that need to hear it. And I'm just in awe of you. You're so young and so brave and so strong and so
And
thank you
well
for doing
spoken.
this. Yeah,
Like,
and very well spoken.
Very well spoken. Very well
Yeah, I
spoken.
was
I was
watching
so
a video of yours
awkward.
earlier and I was like, oh my gosh, if I was your age, when I was your age, I was just like, no.
thank you so
Sorry.
much. Yeah. I don't know.
Still.
I feel like I'm a lot more eloquent tonight than I have been in the past, but I think I'm getting better at doing these live things, you know. So
Your mind gets clearer as you heal. So yeah. Ellie, what were you going to say?
Oh,
I
I
was
was
just
just
gonna
going to
say-
ask if we were ready. Oh, I thought you said you were talking to me. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah,
Go ahead.
Ellie
Oh,
first, and then Christy.
Real quick,
No,
real
go
quick,
ahead.
I was just gonna say, I remember what it was like when I was a teenager, and I was just super awkward. Maybe some people would argue I'm still awkward, but I just, I don't know. I really am touched by your story, and I'm really thankful you're here to share.
thank you,
Oh,
thank you so much. I'm so glad to be here.
Yay!
Well,
yeah, it's good to have a place for women. Okay, go, Christy.
Oops, that's not the one I wanted. I wanted this one. We are going to spin a meaty question for Sophia. Yes. So I'm going to
Spin
go
that
ahead
wheel.
and yeah, we're going to spin that wheel. So here we go. I
Coming
have the
up.
meaty
All
question.
All right.
And I think it's time that we hunt down a meaty question for Sophia.
What's it gonna be?
Ooh, do you ever feel, Sophia, like your way of eating has caused others to treat you differently?
Well, I don't think so. I mean, people like I was saying, if you don't really kind of go around shouting it from the rooftops that you're a carnivore, then people don't really mind. They don't really care. I mean, you can eat however you want. I mean, people are vegan, they are vegetarian, they're standard American diet. They're all sorts of diets, and unless you see them eating something and you're asking them about it specifically, then they will, I mean, you don't really notice people's diet choices, I guess, unless you're like hyper focused on food like I am with an eating disorder. But anyway, like I was saying, people don't, unless you bring it up, people aren't really gonna notice or even care that you're a carnivore. So no, I don't think anybody has ever really treated me differently because of me being carnivore. So
Awesome. That's great.
So I would love to shout out your channel.
Oh, yeah. Let's do that.
Let's
Yeah.
do that. Let's do that. Shall we? All right. I love your banner. I heart steak. That's right.
Ain't that
So
the truth? So good.
Wow, you're almost at 2,000 subscribers. Congratulations.
almost.
That's amazing.
thank you.
You are
And so
growing
everyone
so
should
lucky.
go and check out Sophia's channel. Not only is her story inspiring, but you're going to learn something along the way. You're going to learn how to make homemade butter. You're going to learn how to make yogurt. I remember the first video I watched was the one with your mom making homemade bacon. I was like, what teenager knows how to make bacon? It was just, you amaze
Yeah.
me every time you post. And so everyone, if you haven't already, please go subscribe to Sophia. She's also on Instagram. She'll give you those hot steak pictures every time she grills one up.
Wait, I have a banner for that. There it is. Look at that. I have a banner for that.
There we go. Sophia eats steak. Go check her out. She is amazing and just such an inspiration. So we're
Yeah,
so
thank
lucky to
you.
have her here.
Thank you guys so much for having me. This was I love
Yeah.
being here. This was such a great experience. I
Oh,
think
that's awesome.
I think what you ladies are doing is awesome. I think
Aw.
I just keep on doing what you're doing. You guys you're so good. And I think you have such a good like setup here. I was so impressed by like everything that you guys have. I loved like the meaty question. That was
Oh, yay! I'm so glad. We have fun with that one.
Right. Do we have any more questions from the chat?
Come on,
I
chat.
saw some
You got a few
comments.
minutes. Come on, give us some questions.
This way of eating is so freeing, says Scott Ryan. No more being controlled by hunger. I'm 6 weeks and can happily fast for 20 hours. Could never do that on carbs. I just thought that was amazing. I don't know if we showed that one. I might have already shown that one.
Yeah,
and then
one. That's okay because it was a good one.
It is a good one. This one made me laugh. Boo, vegetables. Those
That's why
vegetables are like vegetables are a garnish. If you're gonna have them, they're a garnish. They are not a full meal.
They add some color to your plate, right?
right.
Oh yeah, for sure. I ate a bag of plums a month ago. They were so good.
Man,
I couldn't do a whole bag. Maybe if they were like from my grandpa's tree or something, plum tree. If he had a plum tree, I might be able to do. I don't know.
Yeah, how big was the bag of plums?
From like the grocery store, there's like 10 of them in there.
Oh, no.
That's a lot. One, maybe I could do one.
Wow.
And then this one was from someone commented on your video, Sophia, and they said my brain is fat. I think they meant is there.
Yeah,
I was like,
it was right after she said that a lot of your brain is made of fat.
They're like, what? Yep, you need fat for your brain to grow and for not grow, probably for when you're growing as a baby, but hopefully my brain's not still growing, but for it to function well. Did we show this question already?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. Cool.
Yes.
And
you just got one subscriber closer to your 2,000 because
yay!
Thanks, Susan.
Yay! Thank you, Susan.
Oh, Rhonda too.
Carnivore backwards says hello, everyone.
Thanks, Rhonda.
And then there was another question from Ketovorgonian. Did we read this one?
No, we didn't read that one.
I heard you mention fasting. For what purpose for you to employ at this discipline? Like, why would you need to fast? Especially since you're trying to gain weight.
Right. So I don't typically like purposefully try to fast. Sometimes I fast just because I'm not feeling hungry. So I'm not doing it on purpose. But sometimes it is for a religious purpose. So
okay.
That
one I understand.
So, yeah.
Yeah. I actually did see that. I'm pretty sure you're from, like, you went to Lagoon, so I'm pretty sure
I'm
you're from the
Utah,
same state as
so
me.
I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So.
That's me too. Yep, I am also.
Hey, that's awesome.
Yep. It's a great religion.
Nice.
So, yep, it is. It's a very Utah thing to be.
Yes, I noticed that when I was in Utah a couple summers ago.
Yeah.
It was cool. I felt a little like a fish out of water, but it was nice. Everyone was very nice, like our tour guide, everybody. Like they were just very welcoming. So that was
very
awesome.
fun.
I'm gonna shout you out, Lindsay. Thank you. So Cindy missed you. So she's saying hello, everyone.
That was so sweet,
Lindsay, because since you couldn't make it last week, and so
hi, Cindy. Yeah, there were a couple of people that are like, "Are you not streaming?" I'm like, "No, not this time. Maybe in the future I might bring it back on my channel, but like for now, I think we need to stick to Ellie and Christie's and the guests. It's just too many streaming at the same time, and I feel like I need to take a step back for a minute. So it's a lot of fun though, just getting on here and hanging out with everybody. So just hanging out on other people's channels.
So this is my buddy. Well, I mean, I was going to say that there will be this month. He's my buddy every month, but this month we are doing a plank challenge together. My channel with Carnivore Brothers. We're doing planks.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So I did 2 70-second planks today, you guys.
Wow.
Wow, that's talent, man.
So yeah, that's been hard work all week. But anyways, Rhett, so this is Rhett. So he says that he subbed to you a long time ago, Sophia, but that you're awesome, and he really hopes that he can get his nieces to listen to you.
Oh, that's
amazing. Yeah, she's
awesome.
Sure.
You know,
and I was gonna say we will have the replays on all of the channels, though. Even on mine, there will be the replay. Sorry, I just wanted to say that.
Yeah,
and I'm pretty sure it will be on Sophia's too.
Yeah, it will be.
All I wanted to say was we try to get women from like all walks of life, and so we're so happy that we have a representative of the teenagers because
The younger
they-
crowd.
the younger crowd. You know, we don't discriminate with the age, but that's just like always so great. And so you're representing, and you're gonna help so many people who might be suffering for what you did. And we're, like we said, we're proud of you, girl. We're proud of you.
You're so amazing.
Yeah, we'll be watching you for sure. Hopefully through, when you're posting your videos, I'm definitely going to keep up with you. I think you're amazing. I cannot wait to see in another year or so when you graduate from high school, where you're going to go, because I'm just really proud of you. I like barely know you, but I'm just like so proud of, everything that you've accomplished. And just thank you for sharing your story, because just hearing it come out of your mouth, it just really resonated with me. I also wanted to say I had a friend of mine whose daughter you're not wrong about I think Dr. Berry calls it the recidivism rate. Like her daughter was put in 3 times for anorexia. And I don't know that she's ever gotten better. Like every picture I see of her, she's just very, very thin. So I just think it's so great that there's hope. You're showing people that there's hope. Because I remember when my friend, I'm a teacher, she's a teacher. And I remember her coming to work just crying because, her daughter's going through this and she doesn't know what to do. And she's pretty sure the clinic's not going to work, but like, what else is she supposed to do?
Right.
So yeah.
That's kind of where my mom was at. Like she was so afraid. She knew that the center didn't work, but what else was she supposed to do? So
yeah.
So now you have an option. You can try Carnivore and see if that helps.
Oh yeah. I with doing Ketovore, I'm like, I always have Carnivore as an option for when I need to heal more, for when I need to feel better. Yep, it's always like I kind of look at it like Kanisha does, where she's like, oh, I need to do better, so I'm going to do Carnivore a few days a week, or however she just decides to do it, but kind of in that mindset. But yeah, everybody's so different, and I love seeing the differences in how Carnivore helped you heal so much, Sophia. Like you took your struggles and you found something that worked and you kept going, and you day 120 is what I saw last. What are you on now?
I think last I checked it was day 137. I think it's day 139 today.
Wow.
I think it's day 139 today.
So you're gonna have to make a video tomorrow, day 140.
Yeah. Hopefully. I'm hoping to do it tomorrow, so.
I mean, really, in the grand scheme of things, it's such a short time, and it's like I went back and watched one of your early videos, and it's a difference. Like you can see the difference between then and now, and it's in such a short time. It's incredible. So yeah. Okay.
So,
well,
do you want to close out and just
Yeah. So I would just like to thank, first of all, Sophia for coming and speaking with us. I definitely enjoyed this chat a lot. And thank you to everyone who was in the chat. Speaking of that, thank you for everyone watching, supporting us in the chat. We love seeing you all.
I love you all so much.
Yeah. It just feels like a big community, like when we're all here together. So thank you so much for
it's like what Mike said. He said, hi, family. It's like, hey, I'm just having a family reunion.
That's what it's like.
A family reunion with lots of steak and ground beef.
That's right. If you guys want to be maybe shout it out next week for the Roar of the Week, go on any of our channels.
Comment below.
Yeah,
you can even go on mine. Just go on to any of the replays and go comment below. And
we comb through all of them.
Put you up on the screen.
All of them. Yeah. We're looking for the next roar. So with that,
speaking of roars.
Oh.
Speaking of roars, are you ready to roar? You guys ready to roar? Especially Sophia.
Yes.
Sophia.
Yeah, let's do it.
All
right, so we'll do a group roar and then we'll let everyone go.
And then we'll peace out.
You can do it with us.
I'll put this up there.
But we gotta do that Lioness roar at the end. You ready?
Okay.
Okay. 2.
Okay.
Roar! All right. Good night, everybody.
Thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely.